I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Earlier in the week, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals issued a very strong order admonishing a MAGA extremist Trump judge. The judge who was admonished is named Terry A. Doughty, a Trump appointee. And the order admonishing Terry Doughty involved Doughty ordering top Biden officials to appear for depositions in a completely frivolous lawsuit brought by the Republican-led administrations of Missouri and Louisiana, who sued the Biden administration alleging that they were improperly involved in social media content moderation of anti-vax statements and COVID disinformation. So these Republican-led states, Missouri and Louisiana and others who joined in this, sued the Biden administration, and they allege that the Biden administration should be sued for the fact that social media companies did not want COVID disinformation spread. It's like when these Republican states also file lawsuits to block Biden's student debt cancellation program. Like, rather than actually focus on issues that are important to people like jobs and healthcare and education and infrastructure and actually protecting people's freedoms like a woman's freedom over her body, these Republican states not only do not focus on those issues, they focus on taking away the freedoms, taking away the rights, and here spreading COVID disinformation. And so what these Republican-led states did is they filed these frivolous lawsuits. Then they filed an amended complaint after the Department of Justice for Biden filed a motion to dismiss. And then they immediately sought these depositions of all of these top-level people in the Biden administration, because all of this is just supposed to be like performative anyway. So the people who are subject to this order by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals are the deposition of three witnesses: White House Director of Digital Strategy and Deputy Assistant to the President Robert Flaherty, Surgeon General Vivek Murthy, and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency Director Jen Easterly. And so those top-level Biden administration officials were immediately deposed by these Republican-led states, even before the Department of Justice could file again its new motion to dismiss. And then the Department of Justice sought a protective order from Judge Doughty saying, look, first off, we shouldn't have these depositions of these top-level people, because what the law requires before you do what's called an apex deposition, or a deposition of a top official like the CEO or, in here, the head of an agency, you need to see if there's less intrusive means of getting the information. So are there other people who could answer the questions other than these top-level officials? Is there written discovery that you could just submit questions and they could answer it before dragging top-level officials before a deposition initially? And then if you climb the ladder and you show a need for these depositions, then you can ask for these depositions. And then the Department of Justice said, in any event, we should be able to file our motion to dismiss this frivolous complaint first before ordering our people to have to testify in this absurd lawsuit in the first place. And so Judge Doughty, the MAGA Trump judge, said, nope, they better testify immediately. And the Department of Justice was like, what are you talking about? Seriously? So they filed an appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. Now, also, while the appeal to the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals was pending to block the depositions of these individuals under the basis of, number one, they're apex deponents, they're top agency officials, and there's less intrusive means to get at the information, and two, the motion to dismiss should be ruled on first before we have these depositions, which will likely be unnecessary because the lawsuit is frivolous. So while that appeal is pending, what these Republican-led states also did is they also sent a deposition notice to Jen Psaki, the former press secretary, and then the MAGA judge ordered Jen Psaki to be deposed as well. So the Psaki appeal or the Sakibam appeal has not yet reached the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals yet, but this ruling by the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals is likely dispositive on Jen Psaki as well, that she won't have to testify. And so what the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals first did is they first said, first off, we find it very, very, very perplexing that Judge Doughty did not even believe that these individuals were apex or top-level agency directors subject to that law, which requires less intrusive means before you have to climb the ladder to take their deposition. And the Fifth Circuit's like, of course these people are top-level or apex employees. They control billion-dollar budgets. They oversee thousands of employees. So without any doubt, these are top-level executives or top-level agency heads. So now let's move on to the next question. And here, what the Court of Appeals then basically says is, we're ordering you, Judge Doughty, to perform the analysis for us. We want you to do work now because your order made no sense. So explain to us how you've balanced the less intrusive measures test and how you've determined that these Republican-led states can't find this information through less intrusive means. Also, the Court of Appeals ordered Judge Doughty to provide his logic and reasoning why these depositions need to take place before he rules on the motion to dismiss, and what the logic is about why he would even have these depositions before ruling on a motion to dismiss where these claims appear to be totally without merit. So they said, we're pausing these depositions. We want to hear from you, Judge. Justify what the heck you're doing, and then we'll then make another decision. But we're staying or stopping these depositions until you answer these questions for us. This is what it says. Another consideration needs to be addressed. The government has already produced extensive written discovery. It argues that what is alleged in the plaintiff's complaint and what otherwise has developed in this case so far shows that there is no First Amendment claim here. The government has urged delay in these depositions until a ruling on a motion to dismiss. The government filed one such motion, withdrew it after an amended complaint was filed, and has committed to filing a new motion before the end of this month. The district court should evaluate the prudence of first ruling on the government's forthcoming motion to dismiss before authorizing additional depositions. Should the district court find that consideration of the government's motion is not warranted before these depositions, it should explain to us why. And then they say prior to that, thus, before any depositions may go forward, the district court must also analyze whether the information sought can be obtained through less intrusive alternative means, such as further written discovery or depositions of lower ranking officials. Written findings as to the availability and sufficiency of alternatives need to be entered. In other words, Judge, we don't know what you're doing, but we're putting you on the spot right here, Judge Doughty. We want you to provide all of the reasons why you are completely ignoring the law. Put up or shut up. So then at the end, it is hereby ordered that the district court enter an order that addresses the issues of the availability of suitable alternative sources for the evidence sought in the proposed depositions, and whether further discovery should be paused until a ruling on a timely filed motion by the government to dismiss. It is further ordered that the depositions are stayed pending further order of this court, meaning that the other depositions won't take place pending the district court conducting this analysis, and then the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeal will review it, and then they will make a determination. But it seems like the Fifth Circuit is signaling that this lawsuit completely lacks merit. Like, the states are claiming that their First Amendment rights are violated because private companies, like social media companies, were not allowing anti-vax, weird QAnon conspiracies on their platforms. The Republican attorney generals are suing private corporations for saying we don't want this conspiracy nonsense on our platform. Of course, this was all before, a lot of this happened before Elon Musk took over Twitter. But that's one of the things that they were focused on too, is like, why are you banning all of these Republicans for their views? It's because those views aren't conservative. No one's being banned because of their views of tax policy. No one's being banned because of their views of how they view we could make inflation better, or like that's not what this is about. The people who are getting banned are saying horrible, racist, anti-Semitic things. They're spreading conspiracies that are killing people by promoting anti-vax, complete and utter BS. People are dying, and Republicans are filing lawsuits to perpetuate the conspiracies. That is their agenda, so more people can die. As I've always said here on the MeidasTouch network, nothing about this modern day Republican Party is conservative. It's why I never use the language, oh, they're liberals and conservatives. I don't believe that language is suitable anymore to the modern zeitgeist. I think you have a pro-democracy coalition, and within our coalition of pro-normal, pro-democracy, we have conservative, progressive, liberal, people who don't identify as anything, but people who just generally are an exhausted majority who want to go about their lives and have adult leadership. And then on the other side, you have radical MAGA extremists. And, I say I don't call them conservative. I believe I'm way more conservative than any of these MAGA extremists, right? I believe in conserving our institutions in the United States of America. I believe in conserving our democracy. I believe that insurrections are bad. I believe that election denialism is bad. I believe that spreading QAnon conspiracy nonsense is bad. I believe that supporting a cult leader like Donald Trump, I believe that that is bad and un-American. And I think that those values are far more conservative than people who say, well, we're conservatives because we don't believe in vaccines, and we're conservatives because we believe insurrectionists are political prisoners, and we're conservatives because we believe that that the satellites in Italy connected to the bamboo papyrus in China, which linked to Hugo Chavez, and where there's a conservative. I said, what are you talking about? It's not conservative. It's weird. It's dangerous. And here, even the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, we had 2 George W. Bush appointees on this 3-judge panel. It was a per curiam unanimous decision. So all of the judges agreed. That's what per curiam means. It was a unanimous decision of the panel. 1 Obama appointee, 2 George W. Bush appointees. But the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has a reputation of being a fairly right-wing court. But even here, they were like, what is this MAGA extremist judge? What are you doing? What is this ruling? What is this case that's even before you, where Republican attorney generals are suing the Biden administration, not the social media companies, the Biden administration, and saying the Biden administration is violating their First Amendments because the Biden administration is saying that social media companies should have moderation policies so that anti-vax propaganda and conspiracy doesn't spread. What are you even talking about? What are we talking about here? Anyway, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit the subscribe button right now. We are on our way to 1 million subscribers thanks to your support. Check us out, of course, on Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Consider becoming a patron, where we have exclusive content that you can only get at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're not funded by any outside investors at all. We purely rely on you. So wherever you are in the world, if you love independent media like this, just think about it. All the big media that's funded by all the millionaires and billionaires here, let's build this together. together. So if you can, check out patreon.com/MeidasTouch. And while you're at it too, check out our new true crime podcast called American Psyop. American, then Psyop, PSYOP. It's an incredible true crime podcast on the top of the charts, produced by the MeidasTouch Network. It's about General Wesley Clark, former presidential candidate and general of NATO's son, who gets targeted by all of these mercenary groups and psychological operations and finds himself trapped as he leads a group of veterans at Standing Rock. It's really interesting. American Psyop. Tell me what you think about it. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.